So this is a story about a little 1983 185S that was local, sat for a long time, and then I became aware of it. So the story goes, my mom was a school teacher and taught at a small school that I went to in my small town. And a lot of the teachers that were there when I started were there when I graduated. Kindergarten through 12th grade is how the school here in my town is. So even though you were in first grade a long time ago, 1987-ish, even though you were in first grade back then, you saw that teacher even through your senior year. Well, as the old guard retired and my mom became one of the retired teachers group that would get together on the first day of school since they weren't going every year. As that group grew, that camaraderie grew, and my mom stayed in touch with all these teachers, and one of them reached out to her recently, and she'd had a bad beginning to the year. She'd lost her husband, and we're very sad about that. He was a great guy. And she'd had some time to come to terms and start to process his stuff. And one of the things that needed to be rehomed was a 1983 185S. And that was right after Trike Fest, and I was prepping for my big event, so I didn't have time to go even take a look at it until just the other day. And look where it is now. So let me get this down on the ground and we'll talk more about it. We are unloaded. It's actually been a full day later. My phone ran out of battery here, but we're going to pick it up where we left off. So that front tire was replaced at some point. Doesn't look that old. It looks like it's got no time on it since it was replaced. Not that that matters really. But very cool to see a 185S with both the front rack and the rear rack. Now I know my buddy Tim Keister would prefer front racks only, but that's not the situation here. And I have observed, looks like they clipped off a coil from a chain or something and bent it and welded them on in a couple areas. Better that than cutting something out, right? So those could be ground off and made to go away. The front rack kit comes with this headlight extension, so when you got your 6-pack of beer here shaking up as you're riding, or whatever your front cargo is, your headlight stands tall just a little bit. Little schmutz there. Let me show you what I was super excited to see. I asked the lady as we were pulling it backwards out of the barn because it wasn't going to roll. I don't even think those would take a tube without blowing right apart while you're trying to set the bead. But I could hear gas sloshing around. I thought, uh-oh. So I said to the lady, how long has it been sitting? And she said, oh, years. And I said, 15-ish, more? And she said, yeah, probably at least that. And I said, the reason I ask is I wonder what the condition of the tank is inside. And the answer is absolutely gorgeous. I know it's hard to see in there, but we'll get you some better images of that later. So tank's beautiful. Actually didn't even smell nasty. Could be aviation fuel because the guy was a pilot. It smells like really good gas, so that is surprising. Front brake is a little sticky. Doesn't look to be cable's moving. Could be linkage. Again, this tire look. With all the pressure that's being exerted when you're trying to reseat a bead, that's probably gonna give up the ghost. Servo Tires is gonna be coming out with those in the near future, so probably just sit tight, see what I've got that'll make do. See if these will work. So we had done our deal, and I was bringing my truck down around through these other buildings that had stuff in it, and these two tires sat one on top of another on a tractor, and I saw them and I said, I know that tread pattern. So we went and checked them out. But as you can see, they have a big crack in the sidewall, not to mention this big booger of patch. But no, I can hear the air pissing right out. Would these hold a tube? They held a beehive. That's the question. Would these hold a tube? Crack. Look at that. Isn't that sad? Well, even if the tires aren't any good, the rims or something. Let me pause this real quick and pull the fenders and show you what I was surprised to see. Actually, I'll show you how to pull the fenders. Maybe you've never had a 185S and you don't know how to access the fenders. And the rack makes it a little bit tricky. The latch is back here. You know, some models, the latch is up here on the side, but that's usually 110, 125M, the first gen. So you gotta pull it up, then you gotta lift the front up. Normally you can just pull it back, but the rack makes it tricky. I'm just noticing a funny looking valve stem in this tire, which makes me think this thing is probably already tubed. That one doesn't appear to be. I wonder if they would hold air for a little bit, at least. To my surprise. Now this sat in a hangar, kind of open, like it wasn't a garage, it wasn't sealed off anywhere. You can see where I touched the filter, so that filter is shot. But look at the band clamp. Look at inside this box. There are machines in my collection that I've cleaned up that don't have a air box as clean as this. Crazy. So I gotta get a new air filter. I don't know if they still have OEM or not. If they do, I'll get an OEM. If they don't, I'll get a uni. Missing the toolkit, which would go there. I'm not gonna screw that home, but so the majority of the corrosion is on the exhaust. We'll know if it's got a leak when we get it running, but it's got the chain guard. It's complete. It's got the viewing window plugs. It's a nice little unit. We're gonna see how easily this thing turns into a running riding machine. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is get my air compressor and see if those will hold air. I'll be right back. Nah. It's all pissing out. What about this other one? Oh. All right, well, next steps. Order a air filter. Figure out what I'm doing with these tires. Find something I can put on the back. And, yeah. Hear what this thing sounds like. So stay tuned. That'll be coming up next. So, It's a couple weeks later. Oh, I got spider webs on this thing. It's a couple weeks later, and the hangar FIND 185S has been sitting here in the shop. I ordered a OEM air filter, the correct air filter for this machine, still available from Honda. Cheaper than a uni or a aftermarket filter, so why not put the correct filter on? So what I'm going to do, put the air filter on, drain this gas, check the oil right now while I've got you, see what we're looking at, and I bet we hear this thing pop over. And if we don't, we'll check spark, and oil is not bad. I've seen a lot worse. I know it's blurry. It's a little dirty, but doesn't look milky, doesn't scream out to me that I've got to do anything with that before I can hear this fire. So spark plug, D8EA. I know there's a debate over what D8EA should be in. 1980 185, 81, but I think 83 185S would probably be better on a DR8 ESL. So we'll see. We'll see if it fires on this, and if not, we'll pop a fresh plug in. But I want to do as little as I can and see what works. So I'm going to drain the gas, do the air filter right now. Okay, I'm still waiting on gas to drain out. New filter is installed, so because it's a correct filter, it's got the little plug at the back that receives the bracket, and everything mounts up nice. I used my JIS screwdriver from 223 Cycles, Curdy Eldridge. Reach out to him if you need JIS screwdrivers or carb kits or custom carb boots or anything. Check out his site, he's got a lot there. But since we're waiting so long for the gas to drain, and it doesn't smell bad, honestly, but I want fresh. But I want to see if this thing will pop over. So I got a can of special sauce here. Run switches on. Didn't really pop. Let me swap out the plug. I know you guys already know this, but a 18mm socket works perfectly with your typical spark plug for a Honda. The 70s take a smaller plug. But DR8 ESL is a super common plug. 350Xs, big reds, very, very common. It's always good to have an inventory of those on hand, just in case. Now, just general appearance of the plug is not bad. It's not rusty. It's not horrible looking. I don't know if that's blurry or not. I really can't see the screen, but it looks wet. It smells gassy. So, might have just been an old plug. We'll get this guy in here. I know there's gas in the bowl of the carburetor, and if it pops over on that gas and runs halfway decent, maybe I don't drain the tank all the way. I won't worry about it. All right. Let's see what that does. I'm not going to spray any more fluid on the filter. All right, maybe just a little fluid. Carburetor's on choke. Seems like it should pop though, right? Let me look at a couple things. I'll be right back. Gas has been drained. I drained it out of the carburetor too. I confirmed that there is spark. I saw it and I felt it. Gave me a nice little wake up. So we're gonna set the camera down here. I'm gonna give it a little zap with just a little more starting fluid to help maybe wake it up a little bit. Choke is down, fuel is on. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Has spark. Won't even pop over on fluid. Huh. Well, what the heck? Really? Starting fluid right in the cylinder. Well, we got a mystery. Compression feels good. I mean, just condition of the machine would indicate nothing should be that wrong. Well, that's all for now. We'll have to see what where this goes. So it's been at least a week, and as you just saw, this thing, after doing the basics, did not want to fire. So it sat there, and I thought, what am I going to do? I talk to MRC Builds on a regular basis through a video messaging chat, just not always about three-wheelers, but other things too. And he had an idea, maybe it jumped time, but I didn't think, based on its condition, it's really not used and abused. It doesn't have enough hours on it to make the timing chain slacken up so much. I really wasn't thinking that was the case. I bounced it off of a tricycle guy. He asked about it, so I was letting him know, and he said he's seen them where they sit so long, sometimes the valves will stick and one will be open, and so you're not building the compression you need to. And And he said, if you tow it behind something, well, this is what he said, so you can hear it for yourself.
I wouldn't assume that it jumped time right off the bat myself. I've had them already where I pulled the string 40 times and didn't even get a sputter. I put it in gear, started pushing, pulled the string to get the engine spinning, kept it moving, and then I wound up laying across the seat with my arms up on the handlebars because it kicked right over and fired up. It could have been sitting for a long, long time with the intake valve open or the exhaust valve open, got a little gummy, got a little dirt in the seat. It may feel like the compression's good, but it might not be enough to pull start. If you bump start it and get the engine really spinning, it could overcome that. There's lots of things it could be.
So I was going to tow it, see what happened. I thought that was a good idea and not that hard. I was going to have to figure out what wheels to put on the back because those are still not holding air because it's just been sitting here. But instead, before I got to that, I said, you know what? What would happen? This was last night. So you gonna let me do this? So I was just out here and I pulled the recoil. Oh. And it was one pull last night. But it just came to life. So sometimes just waiting does the trick, apparently. So add that to your list of things that might work. Just wait. It's got a little tick. So maybe the valve, one of the valves has loosened, which is kind of aligned with a little bit of what Tricycle Guy was saying. So I just wanted to share how this story ended up. So from here, and we'll do this in a different video, but from here I will pull the tank, check the valves, do a detail while it's kind of stripped down a little bit, get some tires on the rear, and next time you see this, we'll be riding it. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.